Hello, hello. Well, this is something brand new for us. This is the very first Facebook with facilitators. So we're just going to hang on here for about a minute as people start to log in. This is your opportunity to share this with your friends and your family. You can also tag your friends and family right in the comments below. We would love to have all of you join us and answer any questions and hopefully help you out with some information tonight. We have a great lineup and we can't wait to start interacting with you. If you are logging in, please hit that like button. Also, you can say hi right in the comments. We'd love to see that you're here with us. If you have anyone who has told you lately that they are just feeling tired, you want to make sure to click that share button and invite your friends and family to join us. We are all just feeling really fatigued. So tonight's topic is fighting fatigue. What's causing it? What we can do to get some relief from it. And we're going to look at that from 3 different aspects, give you some information and hopefully some practical tools that will help you with the fatigue that you've been feeling, as well as scriptural truth. This is being hosted by Journey to Wholeness. If you don't know what Journey to Wholeness is, it's a program that's designed to help you feel equipped to face life's challenges. So I think all of us have been feeling some challenges lately, and we need to get some equipment to help ourselves kind of get out of this feeling and this framework. So we're going to get started in just a minute. Again, if you can click share and invite someone to watch with you, or hit that like button, and we'd love to see you comment in the comments below so that we can interact with you. We have several of our facilitators from Journey to Wholeness here ready to talk to you, as well as other facilitators who are just in the chat ready to interact with you and answer any questions and provide any help and hope that they can. So tonight we're going to hear from a local counselor as well as several of our Journey to Wholeness facilitators. Again, Journey to Wholeness is a program that was designed to help you feel equipped to face life's challenges. And we have had a plethora of challenges in the last few weeks. And one of those is fatigue. So I'm just going to give you a brief definition of fatigue. If you've taken Journey to Wholeness, you know that we like to start by defining things. What exactly are we talking about? What are we going to be addressing right now? So fatigue is a physical and mental state of being extremely tired. Now, I don't know if you feel tired lately or if you feel like you have cause to feel tired, but all of us are feeling tired, even though we're on different spectrums, have different circumstances, have different situations that we've been dealing with. We all have a plethora of things to feel tired about. And we're going to get into the specifics of that, because you might be thinking, why do I feel fatigued if I'm not doing as much as I was before? There's very specific reasons for that. What are some of them? The volume of change that we've experienced, like our lifestyle, our schedules, our routines have changed. Now we're having to educate our kids at home. Maybe your employment has changed, but we've had a depletion of resources. And I don't just mean financial resources, I mean human contact, mental and healthcare. We can't quite get to the doctor like we could before, get our chiropractic appointments or our massages, things like that. And then stress. Our stress is off the charts. The energy that it takes to problem solve right now, the energy that it takes to go to the grocery store right now and to think about, do I wear a mask? Do I need to sanitize my hands? Do I take my phone? How long do I need to go in the store for? Do I sanitize the cart? All these things that we never, ever had to think about before. We have to think about lots of different little steps in our everyday things that we do. And that can cause a lot of fatigue. And then we have grief. Oh my goodness, we've had cancellations and changes in circumstances. Some of you have had to cancel vacations. You've had to wait to find out if you're going to have a graduation or if you're going back to classes. There's so many things that we have had to grieve about. Not being able to be with our family members and talk to them on a regular basis. All of these things compound our feeling of grief. So our first guest is Caitlin Thielen. So she's going to pop up on the screen here in a minute. And she is a licensed professional counselor. I have to think about the LPC to remember what that is. And she provides therapy services to both adults and adolescents in the 920 area. So many of you have asked us recently for references for a counselor. Caitlin is a great one. Her specialties include depression, anxiety, grief, and loss. So welcome, Caitlin. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. So many of us just want to hear from someone like you to give us some resources and just to help us out and encourage us. And I know that you've been hearing from people that they're feeling fatigued. And I was recently reading that there's this collective feeling from all of us that there are 3 types of fatigue that we're all collectively feeling: emotional, moral, and compassion fatigue. And that really resonated with me. Can you give us a brief explanation of what each of those are? So we'll start with emotional fatigue.
Well, I guess the way I wanted to try to keep it simple, but everyone is just overwhelmed with like an overabundance of emotions right now. There's just so much emotion with what's going on. And I wrote a note down of like the biggest thing that keeps coming up is the uncertainty, the not knowing, and that lack of control. And that a lot of people that I've been talking to have been feeling kind of some sort of loss as far as like voice, choice, or power, that they feel like they don't have a voice in some way, or they don't have a choice in making decisions that they would normally make. And that brings up a lot of emotion. Not to mention, like, this is very traumatic for our country, for our world.
Absolutely.
And, this has triggered a lot of underlying stuff that we each carry. So it's bringing up emotions that we felt much further back, and then this time is reminding us of when we felt that way. So it's kind of bringing up stuff to the surface too. So the emotions are like, it is like a wide range, and it's just overwhelming for our bodies and our minds. And so it's just the response is to just like kind of shut down because it's just so overwhelming.
Absolutely. So when our emotions get overwhelmed or overloaded, it is completely natural for our body to be fatigued because it's just an overload of emotions to process that sends all kinds of things. We always talk about how the body is threefold, right? So it's physical, mental, emotional. And so each one of those affects the other. So absolutely, emotional fatigue, when our emotions are off the rungs, we definitely can start feeling that physically in our body. So the second one is moral fatigue. Tell us about that.
So, again, I've been hearing this a lot in my office though, like, okay, am I doing enough? This idea of the greater good, right? Because everyone is trying to do what they can for themselves and trying to be mindful of others. But like, am I doing enough? Am I washing my hands enough? Should I be wearing a mask? Is it okay if I'm not wearing a mask? And just kind of constantly questioning. And so what comes up with that for me is the energy that is involved in that. And again, how that takes a toll on the body. And it just, we just crash because it's this constant question of, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough for myself, my family? And then obviously everyone is experiencing this. So then trying to think about other people.
Absolutely. So even my family and I think it's been a progression because we started out with, well, okay, we'll get the hand sanitizer and we'll get the Clorox wipes and okay, we'll social distance. And honestly, the other night we ordered face masks. And I didn't ever think we would do that. And in fact, when we started this, they were like, don't buy the face mask. And we didn't buy the kind that the healthcare workers need, but we did get some off Etsy just so we had those because it's a question of, am I doing the right thing? Am I being responsible? And that can wear us down because we're, again, thinking about everyday things that we used to just do. Now there's a process that we have to think about that. Now, what about compassion fatigue? That's a big one for me.
Yes. So this is something I've been very familiar with just because of what I do for a living. So I'm very mindful of that. But it's easy for that to weigh even more now, I think, because we all are in this together. Like they keep saying that, but is the same thing is impacting every single person, maybe in a different way. But then we're in the midst of trying to make sense of something for ourselves and then trying to take care of other people. And it's like, I don't have the answer, right? Then it goes back to this uncertainty of like, I don't know. And it's kind of like, there's only so much you can say, but I really think that at the end of the day, that's all you can do is just try to be there and do the best that you can. But there's this constant question of like, am I doing enough to be compassionate to my kids or my friends, or, there's people that have lost loved ones because of this too. And it's like wearing, because it's like, but I'm feeling it too.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to keep giving and doing for others when you're feeling it yourself.
Yeah. And when you go on to social media and you hear from your friends, and I have great friends who are out there handing out cereal boxes and making masks, and I don't have any of those talents. And so I can sit in that and wonder if I'm doing enough. What can I do? And you can spend a lot of time processing that. And then you watch the news and you see someone else's plight and you think, well, what can I do about that? Right. And that can really start to, gosh, that makes us feel exhausted. So you talked about there being some other things that can compound our feeling of fatigue, because it triggers, is what we like to say, maybe other memories or experiences we've gone through. And I love how our brain works. Our brain immediately goes to the database and it says, oh, is this the same situation you were in before? Here's the information that we gathered then, so you can do it or use it again. And also your emotions do the same thing. Oh, do we need some adrenaline here so that we can do this? Like, do we need to fight or run, or, what do we need to do here? And it's trying to help us in that. And yet we need to settle it down a little bit. So how can we identify the source of our fatigue? Now, we know that we're all experiencing similar things, and all of the things I talked about in the beginning, grief and volume of change and depletion of resources. But how can we get even deeper to find out what experiences or conditions are contributing to that as well?
So you're asking like about the body, as far as like being mindful of that. Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah. So what is it? I know there's a term that you like to use a lot, and it's the God spot. So tell us about that. How can we get to the source of what's causing this compounded fatigue?
Okay. So actually the way I think about it is, okay, we're all in stress response right now. So as you started to say, fight or flight. And again, that just overwhelms our systems. We're extremely dysregulated right now and very imbalanced. Yeah. And so the God spot is something so I'm trained in something called brain spotting, and God spot is kind of a branch off of that. And it's actually a resource. So it's a way to resource ourselves in the midst of trauma, in the midst of, I'm going to say this feels like chaotic for me a little bit. And so to try to ground us, and what better way to ground us than to connect to God? Yeah. So I believe that we can connect to him using our body. So it's like an extension of prayer, I think, but really like using your body as like an indicator that I'm really connected to him. I was actually driving home today and I was listening to some music, and there was a song that came up that I love by Mercy Me, and it's called Greater. And the part that stood out, made me think of the God spot was, and greater, I wrote it down, and greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. Yeah. And I think that's what we have to remember right now, that despite everything that's going on, we have him living inside of us. That's what the God spot is about. So just to kind of summarize it, so brain spotting is based off of where you look affects how you feel. So we can actually enhance how we feel, or if we were trying to work on some trauma, we can look for that activation, as I call it, where we're carrying like that stress. But in this case, we actually looking for a place where we feel more grounded or calm or peaceful or relaxed, to help us manage all this stress. So really what I find a lot of times people is usually it's in your heart. Usually you feel it in your heart if you take the time to think about it. So what I do, for me, what has helped is I actually like envision the cross. So sometimes for like envisioning a symbol or something like that to really connect yourself to God, and to feel that in your body, and then pair that with a point in your visual field. So that's where it's based off of this brain spotting, which is based on neuroscience. So this is like really important stuff. And what I do is I can just bring my eyes to a certain spot, off to the right, in the center, or off to the left. So first identifying, really think of God and think of your relationship with him and how grateful you are for him. And potentially you feel it in your heart. Maybe it is in a different place, but I find that a lot of times that's where people feel it. I feel like it's in our heart. And so Do you feel it more on your right? Do you feel it more in the middle, looking straight forward, or off to your left? And just sit with that. And I feel, like I said, it's kind of a way to almost enhance your prayer.
Yeah.
Because you're even more connected to him when you connect to that sense of calmness and groundedness and peace in your body.
I love this. I love the science of it, because quite honestly, when we set our mind on the right place, we can actually affect our body and calm down our body, calm down those hormones that are racing, calm down the adrenaline that has been risen, calm down our minds. And I love how you say the focus on a place. What is that place that you can look to and you feel it inside of you, because you're feeling anxiety and stress in your body, right? Your shoulders are tense, and maybe your back hurts, maybe your jaw's clenched. And if you pay attention to your body, you realize, oh, all of these things are going on inside of me. But when we focus on God inside of us, because he's with us and inside of us, then we also bring the peace of God into us. As we focus our mind, it affects our physical self, our spiritual self, and our emotional self. I love that. I love that. It's such a reassurance that God designed us with everything we need to be in communion with him, but also to find him. Like, we're never too far from God. He's always just a prayer away. I love how you said that. Well, thank you so much for your insight. I just love that you were here with us today. Kaylin is available. She'll be here toward the end, and she'll be in the chat as well. If you have any specific questions for her about anything she just talked about, we so appreciate you taking time to be with us here today. So next, we want to talk about the different areas that we feel fatigue. So we've talked about physically, emotionally, and mentally. So next, we have our facilitators joining us to talk about each of these. And we're going to answer 3 questions. What does stress do to us in this area? How can we fight fatigue in this area? And then they're going to provide us some scriptural truth so that we can find our God spot and focus ourselves on God and what he has provided for us to help us through this time. So our first guest is Amy Van Stippen. I probably said that wrong, Amy. Say it.
No, you said it right, Van Stippen.
Oh, I got it
you
right.
got it.
I've known Amy forever, it seems, and I say it every single time.
Okay. I know, it's a weird one, but
so
married in it, and I love it.
Amy is going to talk about the physical component. What does stress do to us physically?
Yeah. Physically for us, I mean, I can personally, we'll start there. It can disrupt our sleep. It can make you have loss of appetite, or if you're trying to cope, eating whatever's in front of you or everything you can get your hands on, right? So that can, between loss of sleep and not taking care of ourselves with food, it weakens our immune system, digestive issues, just all kinds, like how your skin reacts. Gosh, there's just so many things. And I love what you and Caitlin just talked about, you know, with how if we pay attention to our body, those things, we can feel what's happening, and just, you know, feel that overwhelm and how we handle that. And it manifests different in everybody. I actually reached out to my sisters and my mom today and said, hey, how do we deal with this? What do you do? I know how I react. And it was, some of the things were similar in our family and other things are very different. Some of my sisters they're going to eat everything in sight because that's how they cope. Or for me, I get so stressed and I can't eat. I don't have an appetite, and that's not healthy either at all.
So that'll deplete your energy, not eating at all.
Right.
But then eating things that aren't so great for you and that affect you, so like if you're eating lots of dairy or sugars or carbohydrates and not the good carbohydrates, right?
Right.
So I actually read that affects your serotonin levels. So the more your stomach has to process these things, because it has to work harder to process those things, it actually lowers your mood. So it's affecting you emotionally and it's affecting your outlook. Same thing if you're not eating. If you're not eating enough, you're going to feel drained and tired. And oh my goodness. So how can we fight fatigue physically? What were some of the things you guys came up with?
So we talked about, or just in general, what I try to do is take that inventory, like you said, be intentional about how you're feeling and what you need. And sometimes that day when you do that inventory, it's not, I need to push through a 60-minute workout. It might be that you need to just practice a little self-compassion, and do maybe a nice walk. And because we can't really be with each other right now, FaceTime someone you love and talk to that person when you're walking outside. And it might mean that you get a little fresh air, you get a little sunshine, which both things are really, really good for us as well. But you get that companionship and you're moving your body. Relaxing, stretching. It doesn't, again, have to be like a hardcore. Sometimes that feels good, right? To just sweat and get out. But if you're feeling really fatigued, it's worth it. You work into it. You can do a little relaxation yoga at the end of the night. I use an app called Down Dog, and it's got really great, you can set the time, and it's got, I put on like the waterfall sounds in the background, and it's really relaxing there. As well as getting a good night's sleep. That's huge. I mean, how many nights have you slept really well and woke up the next day and you're like, I can take on the world. That's all I needed.
Changes your perspective. I love how you said self-compassion is different every day. And isn't that the truth? Every day we get different news. Every day we feel a little different depending on how the day before went and how much sleep we got. And just like you said, going at a hard workout might be good one day where you just need to get some frustrations out, whereas you just need to be kind to yourself another day and just do some stretching and a little more rest and move a little slower in that day. I love that. So I always like to go to the scriptural truth. What is it right now that's giving you life and breath in this area?
I think there's a lot of great scripture that talks about just our bodies. And like Caitlin had said too, we've got the God Spirit living within us, so we have to take care of ourselves. But the one today that actually really spoke to me was Psalm 3:5. I'm going to read it. Then I lay down and slept in peace and woke up safely, for the Lord was watching over me. And it's just as simple as knowing I can do a little nightly routine, get myself settled and comfortable and go to sleep, that knowing that God's got me. I'm good, and all my worries I can just lay at his feet. And start fresh the next day.
I would say anytime you're feeling like anxious or worried or a little pressed, absolutely go to a scripture like that just reminds you of whose you are and who you are, and that there's a light at the end of this tunnel. We don't know when that is, and we get fatigued trying to figure that out, but we know what's true, and we have to go back to that frequently so we can get the peace and the relief that we need.
And so that hope, absolutely, just to pour into our, to use the word to pour into us each day, because that's all we need.
So good. Well, thank you, Amy. I'm so glad you're here with us today. We're next going to talk about what stress does to us mentally. So with us now is Dana Sitar, and she's going to talk to us about how stress affects us mentally. So tell us about that, Dana.
I would love to. So stress affects each of us differently. The current season that we are all in is compounding the effects of how we react to stress. We have trouble concentrating. We have forgetfulness, problem solving and learning difficulties. We feel out of control. We are continuously ping-ponging right now to figure out work, kids in school, financials. We are focusing on world news and social media, which is increasing our anxiety. We are worried about our loved ones, and we have to postpone and reorganize life events. I mean, right now, we are all so overwhelmed.
I love that analogy that you just gave us, the ping pong. Our minds are racing and jumping from one place to another without actually finding resolution, because in some cases, there aren't any resolutions to actually make. Everything is so uncertain right now. So how can we fight this mental fatigue that's happening as a result of this ping pong effect we're experiencing?
Well, sure. Fighting mental fatigue. I mean, here's a few tips that have been really helpful, and we can incorporate these into our daily lives very easily. The first one is silence and stillness.
Mm.
Our minds need a rest.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, they're overwhelmed and overworked. So making time for some quiet relaxation, some meditation. This includes our sleep routine and habits,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so easy for us to stay up way too late.
Yes.
And to sleep in and to get out of a routine since we've been at home. Another huge one is spending time with God.
Yeah.
Starting your day by taking 5 to 10 minutes to read your daily devotionals, that makes a huge, huge impact. Another is changing your focus. When your stress levels are rising, change your focus, calm yourself, and reduce your tension. This can include prayer, a short bit of mindfulness, meditation, even some relaxation techniques. Another that is becoming more prevalent even in normal situations, and that is non-screen time.
Yes, we all have screen fatigue right now, don't we?
Oh my goodness, our eyes need a rest. And we need to use this time to be still and quiet, do something you enjoy, reconnecting with your family and friends. Also, rest your eyes. Changing our screen settings to nighttime, starting at sundown, that reduces blue light in the evening, and that really does help to prepare us to be able to rest and sleep.
I would add into that, and you're probably going there next, is make sure you have this transition time. So if you're on your screen all day for work, get up, get away from your desk, take a walk, do something that has nothing to do with that. I love how this ties into what Caitlin was talking about, finding that spot to gaze that isn't a screen so that we can give our mind some rest.
Absolutely. The next big one is take frequent breaks. They can be little ones, even getting up and walking around. A lot of us, now that we are at home so much, even working at home, we're finding ways to check in on the kids and change laundry, get dinner started, even just refreshing your beverage.
Yes.
Is an opportunity to take a mental break. And I'm finding that being flexible, taking some time to evaluate and rethink what we are doing to reduce our stress and how we are reacting to things that are happening to us and around us.
Yes.
Because are we finding the positive in the situations we are in the stuff that's happening? Because we are easily just pulled into the craziness of what's going on and the worry and the anxiety. And so taking a chance to look at what's going on and being flexible is really helpful. And the big one that I really love that I couldn't wait to include is worship music.
Yes.
Having your favorite worship station on in the background really makes a big difference in how we are feeling and how things are affecting us. Because if we're listening to some worship music in the background, it tends to calm us and give us a little bit of peace. But then step it up a notch. Have a dance party with the family. Get the kids in. Crank that music up and show the kids how mom can rock. This is fun. It brings joy. It gets everybody moving, and then it reduces stress in the house.
It literally brings out the stress and anxiety you might be feeling, that tension, that tightness. If we can incorporate all of the different senses when we engage in these things, it has a bigger impact and is more effective for us. I love the worship music. I start my day that way. When I don't, I notice that my mood is a little different. So I just tell Alexa to play a song and I just let it go all day as I'm working. But then at nighttime too, when I'm ready to go to bed, I need to just like turn off the thought processes. So if I can, there's many artists who are doing bedtime songs and they're singing from their homes, from their kitchens, the song that just kind of resets your thoughts and focuses you in the right place. And then you can have a good night's sleep. So with that, there's also scriptural truth. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, my daughter actually, she puts her Bible under her pillow, but it's really great to open it at night and
Right.
scripture that'll actually give you some peace and calm. So what are the scriptures that are helping you right now?
Well, sure. There's a couple that I gravitated to. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man.
Amen.
God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it. And right now, the escape is safer at home. And the ability to endure everything that is happening comes through our faith in God, because it's better for us to be at home and caring for our families and figuring all this stuff out than to spread the virus that's going around.
Yeah.
And the second one is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. I reconnected with Pastor Sean's 5-week sermon from July 2018. It is, the struggle is real. I found the sermons right now, the content is contentment, relationships, authenticity, compassion, and rest. And I'm connecting again with them as I am going through and enduring safer at home. The struggle again is real.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much that he has in there is appropriate for now too.
And I've said this before, but just hearing someone read scripture just makes me take a deep breath, right? When I read scripture. But honestly, if you're really struggling with finding calm and peace, I would recommend speaking those words out loud with authority. Speak them over yourself like a blessing. There's a song right now, if you want to listen to a great song, The Blessing by Carrie Jove and Cody.
Oh, yes.
And it just play that over yourself. Declare those things over yourself. You choose what your mind is going to be set on, and you choose what you're allowing in so that you can find the peace that's available to us just in God's word alone in speaking it. So thank you so much, Dana. Really great information and really great tips on how we can get healthier mentally in this time of fatigue and stress. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. It has been a joy.
Now we're going to move on to the last piece that we want to address tonight, and that is, what does stress do to us emotionally? So with us is Trish Franco. She is one of our facilitators. She just finished a 12-week group with her ladies, and so we were really excited that she was able to do that and be flexible, because during that time period, they went from meeting in person to meeting on Zoom and figuring out all the technology and yet staying connected. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Now, tell us, what does stress do to us emotionally?
Stress is going to bring our stress in our emotions, depression.
Yeah.
If you are somebody who already struggles with depression, it's going to come out even more so at this time. I'm one of those people that I'll have a couple of days here or there where I'll have my sad days, my blue days. But I have noticed even in myself, just with this stay at home, it has been more just in my own self, and it is making me tired.
Yeah,
it really is bringing out just the sadness in me, and I have found myself sleeping more during the day, and it's just my way of shutting down.
Right.
So for other people, and I mean, people are home alone, and they don't have those avenues of people to talk to. So I have found it's been very important to reach out to other people, and to make sure that you're reaching out to people also, because we need those connections.
Absolutely.
I ran into a friend of mine, or a coworker, at the grocery store yesterday. It just happened to run into Festival to pick up a few things. And it was just, it was such a lift for both of us to talk. it's like, this is what we're missing. This is why the people are going to get more depressed, because they're not having those human interactions, those face-to-face human interactions that we all crave.
Yes. Now, I want to clarify, depression is something that we can all struggle with, especially in a time like this where there's just compounded effects and changes that are influencing us. And so depression is, we're depressing from the pressure that we're feeling. And so your body, when you have, like we mentioned earlier, hormones racing and cortisol racing, and we're trying to adjust to the changes that we're experiencing, our body's naturally going to try to help us to release that pressure. And it's going to tell you, do you want to sleep? Do we need some carbohydrates? What things give you pleasure and raise your serotonin that your memory remembers you having a positive experience, and it's going to suggest to you you're going to have this craving or this feeling or this want or this, those are all normal things. We're all going through them right now. Where we get concerned and where we need to reach out is when there's multiple days of that. So if you have a day or two like that, you're absolutely, yes, go ahead, turn the Netflix on, get the weighted blanket, wear your pajamas. Awesome. That's going to help you release some of that pressure. But it's when it becomes 3, 4, 5, it's been 2 weeks, 3, that's when we have to now start talking to people about it, reach out to any one of us, reach out to a friend, because really just a small nugget of time with someone, or even just confessing, hey, I've been feeling rotten lately. I really need to come out of this. What do you do? Will help you. It will make a world of difference, as we've encountered, as we've ventured into Zoom calls and FaceTime calls with our family. It makes a huge difference. What we don't want to see is it causing apathy, where you're like, I don't even care anymore. I'm not going to make any effort. What are some other things that stress does to us emotionally?
It brings out anger. And I think because right now we're all in a situation that we can't control.
Right.
And that underlying anger is there. But what we need to do is to make sure that if we're feeling anger, we need to dig deeper and find out where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
What is causing us to be angry? It's the lack of, sometimes it's that lack of control, but sometimes it things in our past that, because of what's going on, something that happened in our past where we didn't have control over, and because we're in a situation right now, our response is anger.
Exactly.
So we need to go in and make sure we're starting to dig into that. Pull out a journal, start writing down what you're feeling. If you're having memories of things that happened to you in the past, start digging into those things. And knowing that the anger is just the surface stuff. There's something under there that you need to uncover, and find out where it's coming from.
So anger is just our desire for justice and righteousness. So anger in itself is not bad. We find multiple places in the Bible that talk about God being angry. What can be a problem is how we choose to respond to that anger. And we want to do that in a healthy and a constructive way. A great question to ask yourself for any of these things that happen in our stress is, when did I first remember feeling this way? If you're feeling like this is like, I'm overreacting a bit, I'm really reacting to this in a way that doesn't seem to equate to the experience that I'm having right now, we should ask ourselves, when did I first feel that way? Because that's going to help us to get to the root. Give us one more thing that stress does to us emotionally.
I think irritability. And I know, like you're home with teenagers. I'm home with my youngest one is 18. Yes. So schoolwork, I'm trying to have my quiet time. She's stressed. I'm stressed. So we're having these, I'll say something to her and it's like, she thinks I'm coming at her, or she'll say something to me and I feel like she's coming at me. Yeah. So it's sometimes we just have to walk away and take a deep breath.
That's right.
And come back and say, hey, I'm sorry. I should not act at you like that. And just be aware of those situations, control it, try to control what comes out of your mouth before it comes out, because once it's out, it's hard to take back.
That's right.
And, you know, some of those words, they cause wounds that, you know, 5 years down the road, if I say something really mean to my daughter, you know, something might trigger that 5 years down the road, and she's going to think of that time when we're stuck at home and mom was, you know, she just said this thing to me, and it's still affecting me 5 years from now. And so we want to make sure that when we're irritable, that we watch our words, that we take a pause, we think about it. Do we really need to say what we want to say? Sometimes it's better to just bite your tongue, calm down for a minute, and then think of a better way to say it so you're not going to hurt that person's feelings.
Absolutely.
And the best, I mean, communication, I mean, you got to have that communication, because the other person is feeling irritable for their reasons, you're feeling irritable for their reason, and that's just crashing together, and it won't be good if you don't think about what you're going to say.
That's so good. We can really, if we take, now our emotions are red flags, is what we say in Journey to Wholeness, and they let us know that something is not quite right. And if we take that opportunity to spend some time with it and ask those questions of ourselves, where did this start? What's really going on here? What do I need to communicate? What is it that I want? What is it that I need? And can I have a constructive conversation? We can really come out of all of this having made a lot of progress, rather than creating memories that we wish we could forget because we just spent all of our time being angry and irritable and having outbursts, or maybe just being apathetic and depression and not really engaging and taking advantage of this time that we have together. So what is a scripture truth that you want to share with our audience today that has helped you?
I have found that Psalms 5:3, it says, listen to my voice in the morning. Lord, each morning I bring my request to you and wait expectantly. This tells me that I know God is going to listen to me. I wait expectantly for his answers. And it just brings a peace to me, knowing that he is listening, because sometimes we don't feel like others around us are listening, but I know that God is listening to me. And he hears my cry. He hears my feelings, my sadness, my happiness. He knows everything that I'm going through. And I can tell him everything, good, bad, and he's going to listen to me.
Yeah, because we know that he experienced it himself as Jesus in the flesh. He was a man of sorrows. He experienced all the things that we have experienced. So we can absolutely look to scripture and go to him in prayer and know that he cares about every single one of those emotions that you're feeling right now and that you need help with. So thank you so much, Trish, for being here with us tonight and talking about this topic. Well, I want to talk about one last thing. We talked about the physical, we talked about the mental, and we talked about the emotional. And there could be very likely case that you maybe need to see a doctor right now. Maybe the fatigue that you're feeling is because of something else that's happening in your body. Maybe you have low vitamin D because we haven't been outdoors as much as we want to. Maybe you have a low iron level. Maybe you have anemia or diabetes or adrenal fatigue, and you haven't been in for your checkup, and you don't realize that with this added stress now that has actually activated something that's going on inside of you physically. So absolutely check with your doctor if you're feeling extreme levels of fatigue that are ongoing that you can't resolve with some of the tips that we've provided tonight, or go to see a mental health professional like Caitlin. We can provide contact information. Just message us or comment something in the comments, and we can get you connected to someone who can talk with you and help you. We also have Journey to Wholeness that you can sign up for. We'll be adding new courses in the next few weeks that you can sign up for to get connected there as well. Now, I want to bring one more guest on with us, and that is Pastor Scott Eastman. He is one of the best people you will ever meet, and we love him, and he has blessed us because he has helped us to start something brand new for all of you to have access to that we hope will help you. So Pastor Scott, you want to tell us or tell them what we've just done?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel a little bit out of place because everyone has such big hair tonight. Like everyone, like I don't know if they put
Sorry.
it upside down and shook it out. Like everyone's got
Because we
big
can't
hair.
actually go get our hair cut, so it's just
Except
going.
me. My gosh, I can't even fluff up my beard.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah, I don't have that, so I mean that's good.
It was a few months ago, a while ago, Pastor Becky started talking about the idea of doing a Journey to Wholeness podcast. And I love that idea. And then we got the COVID thing going on. And so then we started scrambling to make all sorts of podcasts. And we wanted to make sure that Journey to Wholeness was one of the things that we put out there because the content is so good. And it's so good, like certainly good on like a great Jesus level, but it's also great like on a, if they don't know Jesus yet level. And so like, boy, if we could put that stuff out there that, hey, listen, it's okay to be broken. It's okay to be, screwed up because like stuff happens to all of us. And like, so we did our first episode last week. We just sat down in the staff room and we just started talking. And well, you know how Becky is. Like you just start talking to Becky about, life and pain and brokenness, and then she'll just go on and on and on. And it's fantastic. And so anyway, we started talking. We were focusing on arrested development or arrested in development. Sometimes we talked about the TV show, and then sometimes we talked about the actual mental health thing.
That's right.
But anyway, we talked about it. It was just so good. And the first thing that came out of that was like, she talked about how trauma isn't just like if you went to Iraq, right? Or if you were in a car crash or a house burned down, right? Like trauma is anything where, anyway. So we talked about that. And like, that should be a revelation to people where, anyway, I'm going too deep.
Well, and it's really what we've been talking about tonight. If there's something else that has been compounding your feeling of being overwhelmed or feeling fatigued, it's probably some arrested development. And we talk about in that podcast what may have caused that, what you can do, how you can identify those things so that you can really, I truly believe that all of us can come out of this extended period of time that we think, my goodness, what's happening in the world? We could really come out of it healed and whole and better off for it if we have the tools available to us and we do the work. And that's what we're trying to do here is give you some more tools so that you can do the work. And then we're here as resources to continue to help you. So that is the whole podcast. And we're going to post that up on screen. You can go to the lifechurchgreenbay.com website, and it's listed under the podcast. And you can also go to journeytowholeness.org, J2Wholeness.org, and you can get lots of resources, and it'll direct you to our Facebook page, to blog posts, to the podcast, and other resources that we'll continue to send out there because we want to help you to get better emotionally, physically, mentally.
See, this is what I was talking about. Like every time you can't get a word in edgewise. So Becky's really hard to do a podcast with. But I will tell you that we would love it, though, if you shared that podcast. I feel like that's the point, right? Like, A, we should get something out of it. But two, like it's great, like information to share because we all know people that are like struggling with, darkness or with, just stuff with yuck. Yeah. And so like, it's just a great podcast to trade. Nope. See what I did just then? I looked down at my phone. Because ESPN says, oh, someone traded a draft pick. And so, like, I just said trade.
Squirrel.
I'm arrested in development. Anyway, thanks. Share the podcast. Listen to it. It's great.
Share the podcast. Absolutely. That's what we have that out there for. And share this post. After we're done here, you'll be able to share that with your friends and family. And if you need to share it a different way, just let us know and we'll get that information to you. If you're not already following the Journey to Wholeness Facebook page, do that. J2wholeness.org is where you can go for this information and a lot more. So I just want to invite all of our guests back to the screen. Caitlin, thank you again for joining us tonight. And Dana and Amy and Trish, many of you know them. They're your facilitators. Give them a like or a heart because they love you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first Facebook with facilitators, and we hope to provide more episodes to you in the future and talking about fatigue and all of the other topics that we presented to you tonight. Have a great evening. We love you all.
Bye.
Bye.